Hello everybody and welcome to our live studio show here. It's round 12 of the FIM Motocross World Championship, the MXGP of Indonesia. And we are back at Pangkal Pinang. And I'm glad to say that the weather is, holding out at the moment. We've got beautiful blue skies over there and yeah, it's a little bit warm, it's a little bit moist. Might need some tissues before the end of the show, but hey, we'll get through it.
You've used a few tissues already.
I
today.
have actually, yeah. But look, we've got a great show for you lined up today. We've got Davy Pootjes already in from LRT KTM. We've got Shaun Simpson coming in from Wilvo Yamaha, and then we've got Dirk Gruebel, the team manager for the Red Bull KTM, the Dutch side from the MX2 and MXGP riders there, Jeffrey Hurlings and Paul Jonas. But before we go anywhere, let's introduce our lovely guest in the middle here, Lisa Leyland. Lisa, we're back after a 1 week hiatus. And we're back in Indonesia. What did you do on your weekend off, first of all?
What did I do? Hit the beach, topped up the tan, serious stuff. Worked hard on it. Yeah.
And that was it?
Yeah, what about you?
I went riding, actually.
Did you really?
Took a dirt bike out, for the weekend.
Why not?
Why not on a weekend off? Well, look, let's talk dirt bikes with this guy here, LRT KTM's Davy Pootjes. Davy, good to see you. What did you do on your weekend off, actually? I'm guessing maybe not a lot, or were you still racing dirt bikes?
Last weekend I didn't do much actually. I took some time off, and spent some time at home and just chill.
Yeah. Well, look, coming into this round, you're 11th in points right now. Are you happy with where you're at?
Actually, I'm happy because the last few years have been tough. The injuries were quite tough, and I had a tough time. So I'm happy where I'm now, and it's getting better every race. Every race I feel good, better, and it's quite good. Quite happy.
Well, we've had 22 races so far, 11 rounds. 10 of those, I guess, or 9 of those, you've been inside the top 10. Is that the kind of consistency you've been hoping for?
Yeah, for sure. Last year, or actually the last 4 years, I had been out after 3 rounds, I think. So I want to be in the top 10 every race, and that's actually my goal. And keep getting better every race. And also for my head, it's good.
And also 2 weeks ago in Ottabiano, you got your best qualifying race result, which was 6th. But I think perhaps which was most impressive was that you were up front challenging for that lead. Are you hoping for more of that for the rest of the season?
Yeah, for sure. I think I can do that. I showed that in the past. Only because of the tough years, it's now quite tough to be there. But I'm sure, in the future, I will be there, and I'm getting closer and closer. And I think even at the end of this year, I can be closer to the top 5. I think.
You said it's quite tough to be up there. I mean, what will it take, do you think, for you to be up there again? Is it fitness, confidence? Is it that self-belief that you need?
To ride at the top, you need to be fit. Your head needs to be good. Your fitness needs to be good. And at the beginning of the year, my fitness was not as good as they are. Because they had been riding more years than me because of my of the past with my injuries. And also in my head, it was tough because also with all I had, so I had to work on that. And actually now it's getting better. I start to feel good, and I start to feel good on track, and scrub and stuff like that. So that's nice.
How was the track in Ottabiano last week, actually, or 2 weeks ago?
Actually, it was quite good. It was actually really fast, but it was sand, so for me that was good. But also on hardpack, I'm quite good now. So. But it was a really nice track.
Well, obviously we just talked about your best qualifying race of the year so far, or, in that respect. But last year this was your best result, second best career. Is the track much different to last year? I know we've had some rain and that kind of thing, but the actual layout of the track is different. Did they change some things or not?
Actually, it's the same. Only that part with that jump, where everyone got stuck on that jump last year. They changed that. But actually, the track is the same. Only this year I think it's more hard from the bottom, so that's better for the track and for the rain. It's not gonna be so deep as last year.
Well, looking at this performance from last year, obviously, as we said, you finished second in the first race. It was important to get to the front, wasn't it? And you showed actually how feisty you can be. How much you want to fight.
Yeah, for sure. I know by myself I can be in the front, but and like there I showed it also, I can fight for it, and I have it in me, But now I just want to take some time, you know, and stay in the top 10, you know, and then build from that.
And how is your new team, LRT KTM? Okay, not so new, but how are you finding it?
No, it's good. It's a really good team, you know. The bikes are actually quite good, and we had some bad luck actually, but the team is doing good, and I really like it.
Okay, well, we have a question for you on social media, and this one's from Tom C22, and he says, what is it like being in a one-man team?
It's actually quite nice, you know. They do everything for you, you know, like you know, they only work for you and not for others, you know. So the team is going all for you, and yeah, also for me, like what I said already, the past 4 years have been tough. So it's good to have people like that around me.
Okay.
Let's talk about MX2 and MXGP title chase at the moment. We are now in the second half of the season. I guess from your side, you want to improve and finish as high up in the top 10 as possible, but it's getting quite close, isn't it, in the top with Paul's and Jorge, and also with Tony and Jeff. What are your predictions? How do you see it playing out? I guess, does some of it depend on what happens here this weekend?
For sure, you know, in the mud, you know, you can do really good or really bad, you know, you need to be lucky a bit, but I don't know, in MX2, Prado and Jonas are quite close to each other, you know. The other weekend it's Prado, the other weekend it's Jonas, so I don't know. And also in the MX1, you know, you see Jeffrey is actually the fastest and winning almost every round, but I think Tony is a bit more smart, like we saw with the injury, but that can happen, you know. So I don't know, all points are really close, so and I think this 2 weeks is gonna be
could be a turning point.
Yeah.
Obviously a lot of people talked about Jeffrey when he got hurt before Ottaviano, and some people say, you know, because of his confidence and this kind of thing. I mean, you know him quite well. He only knows one way, doesn't he? Just to train 100%, and that's in the week, that's racing, and sometimes when you push like that, accidents are going to happen sometimes.
Yeah, for sure, you know, it can happen, and he was really at the top, you know. I think better than that is almost not possible, you know, better than him at the moment. So he was really riding at the top, and on practice, you know, he's also giving everything he has. So that's maybe something he needs to learn. I don't know. That's but maybe it's better to take it then a little bit easier, because Tony is not there, so there are no points in practice. But it can happen, you know. Like everyone can crash in a practice, so it's not. Maybe he was just taking it easy, you know. So I don't know, but for sure it's gonna be close in the title. Yeah, I don't know.
All right. Well, look, Davy. Yeah, thanks for joining us here on our studio show here in Indonesia. Before we meet our next guest, Shaun Simpson, let's catch up with some action from 2 weeks ago. Here's highlights from the Fiat Professional MXGP of Lombardia MX2 Race 2.
MX2 Race 2, and another electrifying start for the 61 Jorge Prado, and this time he made it 13 foxhole shots for the season. This time around, though, he was closely followed by both Rockstar Energy Husqvarnas of Covington and Thomas Kjær-Olsen. Bas Bassen for Honda 114 Motorsports was up there in fourth, ahead of Simone Pallotti as well. But the Yamaha SN Action MC Migliori rider was quickly passed by Paul's Jonas. Calvin Valanderen was making up for a poor start. He advanced past Bas Bassen. And then eventually caught the 29 of Henry Jacobi. All of a sudden, the number 10, Valanderen, was up to 5th place. Ben Watson, another rider who suffered from a poor start, found himself in a mid-race tussle with the number 10 of Valanderen, and these two battled over 5th and 6th position. The Brit on the Khmer Yamaha made the move and then made a mistake. 2 laps later, he was back onto the rear wheel of the HRC Honda rider and made a daring pass around the outside to get himself into 5th, and that is where the Englishman would stay. Thomas Kjær-Olsen started to reel in his teammate Thomas Covington, and around the halfway point of the race, after the American started to fade, the Dane was through on the number 19 Rockstar Energy Husqvarna. He was now to 2nd. Paul's Jonas was starting to close in. And just a couple of laps after he'd seen Thomas Kjær-Olsen go past Thomas Covington, the Latvian was through into third. No one, though, was a match for Jorge Prado, and the Red Bull KTM rider was dancing to his own tune and went on to take his 7th race win of the season. Thomas Kjær-Olsen came home second, Jonas third, Covington and Watson rounded out the top 5. And that win for Prado meant that was his 5th overall victory of the season. Thomas Covington on the podium again, ahead of Paul's Jonas, and the championship is really starting to tighten up now. Just 9 points between Jonas and Prado as we head to Indonesia for round 12.
Well, that was Lombardia 2 weekends ago, but we are here now in Indonesia, and Shaun Simpson, our next guest, is here, Wilvo Yamaha, official MXGP. Shaun, welcome to our studio show here. We've had a weekend off. When did you arrive? What did you get up to on the weekend off? All that kind of stuff. Just fill us in real quick.
After Autobiano, we just basically took the time to have a little bit of a break after the 3 GPs in a row. We had Matterley, France, and Autobiano. Coming back from my little injuries after Russia, it was quite nice to have a bit of a break and sort of regroup a little bit. A few more laps on the test track, try and figure a few things out, and then it was get on the flight to here. So technically it was 2 weeks, but it was 10 days really, not even as much as that. And then just flew out here, same time as everyone really, got here Thursday midday. Yeah. Managed to get into the routine and then out on track this morning.
I saw you as sort of flying in with Adam Sterry.
Yeah, we were, yeah.
He totally stitched you up there.
Mark Deruva, the Instagram post, just you don't need enemies when you've got friends like that, do you?
I'm not sure how he got that post actually, because we were only sleeping for about an hour and a half of the whole trip. Me and Adam, ask me any questions about Adam, I know the answers. We were talking for so long that we just, jet lag didn't set in though, so we're all good.
Well, look, you're 17th in points. I think overall it's fair to suggest that it's been quite a frustrating year for you so far. Would you agree? I mean, you'd prefer it not to be, but that's just...
Absolutely, yeah. But this is MXGP in 2018, and I think, it's just a tough class. And, there's so many good riders out there. We're riding as close to the edge as you might want to say you are, and everyone is, to try and, make up those fractions, tenths, thousands of seconds. And it's just unfortunate that the starts haven't really been there for me in the beginning of the year, and we just couldn't make those little gains where we needed to. And then frustratingly, I got some small injuries again, which just sort of held us up. And if you don't get that ball rolling, it's hard to start it rolling mid-season, and you just feel like your wheel's spinning and just you're not getting that thing off the grid. So it's one of those where you just have to keep fighting through, and if you give up at anything in life, you're going to just fail. So you have to just keep strong mentally, physically, and just keep coming out on track, and before you know it, one of those days it'll just click, and that's going to be it.
Yeah. Definitely. And yet it all seemed to start so well in Argentina, but unfortunately that 5th place in qualifying was the highlight of your season so far. So we just got a clip here of the race. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, it kind of started on a high, but it didn't really carry on that way.
I know it tends to be the case for me. I don't know, like I come into the season swinging, and for one reason or another, I just can't really make it. Things work. Rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, and then really get into the part of the season where everyone's just not on cruise control, but just going about their weekly routine, and just Monday they're cycling, Tuesday they're riding, and just repetitive stuff. So I don't know, I just feel like I had a bit more confidence at the beginning of the year. I was building it up, come off the back of a quite a tough end of 2017, regroup mentally as well, and I felt like I was in a good place. But as I say, I had a DNF in Valkenswaard at the following round, but then followed that up with a 6th in Moto2, and then after that, things just started going pear-shaped. But let's not dwell on the past. Let's look forward. We're here in Indonesia. I know it's been raining again. The track's a bit sticky, but I won here last year. Try and look at the positives and stay focused, for the remainder of the second half of the year.
Yeah, definitely. Are you back to 100%, or do you still have a few niggles?
I'm definitely not near 100% as I'd like to be, purely because after the injuries in Russia, come back, I was feeling like I was just getting back to it in Autobiano, and then I went and hurt my other ribs in the first moto. So. Right. It's just a tough one. I feel like I'm riding with a constant stitch, and that's like a little bit of a nightmare. But you know, as I say, you just got to suck it up, and we got 2 in a row, weekend off, and before you know it, we're into Lockett, Lommel, tracks I know and enjoy.
Yeah.
And you know, I just got to start looking where I can actually perform well and try and see what we can do at those races. And you know, before you know it, you can claw back a lot of points in the championship. And you know, I'm not going to finish in top 5 or top 10 probably, but let's just see what happens second part of the year.
All right, well, look, more from Shaun in just a moment. But how would you like to win with MXGP and Epone? Here's how. Well, once again, Epone has teamed up with MXGP, and here at the MXGP of Indonesia, where you have the opportunity to win some amazing prizes, as always. All you have to do to get your hands on this fantastic loot is like and share this post on our MXGP Facebook page, and you'll be entered into the draw for the chance to win a bunch of Epone goodies, a 2018 MXGP TV Season Pass, and a copy of MXGP3, the video game. The contest ends this Tuesday, July 3rd, and remember, you have to be in it to win it, so good luck with that.
Okay, well, fantastic prizes there. But back to Shaun. Okay, might have been a difficult start of the season, but hopefully we can change all that. What we're going to do now is take you on a short trip down memory lane to last year here in Indonesia, and what were clearly quite difficult conditions. You thrived upon those, and it was the highlight of your year. So just talk us through this.
I don't know, it's one of those ones where, you know, like, I won in Lommel in 2015, and that was one of the, not going to say the easiest races of my life, but things just clicked. You know, this race here, I'm literally just riding around, not chilling, but basically just feeling it, you know, like up on the pegs. You know, Glenn's clearly doing exactly the same, but I just had, you know, that little bit extra, and I just felt the bike was working good. I was taking some creative lines, not maybe always the fastest line, but just mixing it up. You know, just feeling the flow.
Seeing that you weren't trying to race the track. A lot of guys got into trouble last year trying to race the track. You rode the track, and I know that sounds, you know, daft to some people, but you do sometimes just have to ride and not race, don't you? Absolutely.
It's one of those tracks where, you know, you see a lot of ruts and a lot of bumps, and yeah, there's going over the finish line. It's, you know, it's sticky, and you know, even in the landing spot there, you've got maybe 15 lines to choose from, and that's where I thrive. I think actually choosing a line out on the track is where motocross riders actually, that's their bread and butter, you know. Otherwise we would just take up MotoGP, where you have to hit your apexes and just go as fast as you can. But motocross is actually about, you know, choosing lines and you know, making the best of what's given to you. So that was the highlight, but you know, it will be definitely tough to replicate that this weekend, but we'll be giving it our best shot.
How's it been in the paddock, actually? Because I can imagine with you being the MXGP winner last year and Jeremy Seawer being the MX2 winner, both on the same team, is it quite busy down there in the Wilvo camp at the moment, or is it still a bit quiet in the paddock?
It's been relatively quiet, actually. You know, there's been a few whispers. Everyone's always walking around saying, "Oh, Shaun, this is made for you." You know, nice and rainy Scottish weather, but. Now, at the end of the day, as I said, you know, everyone that's flown out here in MXGP top 15 or in MX2 as well, you know, we're all the world-class riders, and everyone can ride these conditions. It just so happened that, you know, I've had a few good results in these types of conditions before, and yes, I do like them. You know, will it happen again? Who knows? You know, there's a start and a heck of a lot of laps to do before we get to the end of that finish flag.
All right, well, look, Shaun, thanks for joining us here. All the best this weekend and for the second half of the season, which we're now well into. Shaun Simpson, Wilvo Yamaha official MXGP. Before we meet our third and final guest, though, Dirk Gruebel, let's catch up with some of the highlights from MXGP Race 2 at the Fiat Professional MXGP of Lombardia 2 weeks ago.
With temperatures touching 30 degrees, race 2 for MXGP was going to be a tough one. But the first guy over the Foxhole shot line was Kevin Strybos on the standing construct KTM. He was closely followed by Clement de Sal and Tony Cairoli, but the Sicilian was quick to pounce on the Belgian. He moved up into second as early as turn 2. And 2 corners later, Cairoli was leading the way. Fans were on their feet, loving everything that they were seeing in the early stages of this race. Behind Tony Cairoli, it was frantic though in the opening laps. A good start for the TM of Max Nagel, saw him in 4th place early on. But the likes of Geiser, de Sal were starting to close down and find their way past. Tony Cairoli though threw it away. He had a 3-second advantage at that point. He picked himself back up in 4th, and all of a sudden it was game on, and the race was well and truly on as Geiser took over the lead for Team HRC from the Belgian Strybos. Lurking dangerously in the background, though, was Tony Cairoli. Found his way back past Strybos for the second time in the race to take over second. Was quickly onto the rear wheel of Tim Geiser. And in front of his fans, over on the far side of the circuit, the Red Bull KTM rider launched his attack and made his move for the lead. Behind them, Clement de Sat was on the charge, but not for long. The Belgian's race would almost come to an end. He crashed out, picked himself up, went all the way down to 28th, but he would still salvage a point on the final lap of the race. Gauthier Paulin was on the charge as well. He eventually came home in third as Kevin Strybos started to fade back to 7th. Roman Febvre lost 2 positions in one corner to the hard-charging Rockstar Energy Husqvarna of Max Anstey and the Wilvo Yamaha number 91 of Jeremy Seawood. The two were locked in battle for the main part of the race. Tony Cairoli, though, was imperious in race 2. He took his 5th race win of the season from Tim Geiser, Paulin, Anstey and Seawood. And his overall victory earned him 50 points. It was only his 2nd Grand Prix win of the year. His last came in Spain at Red Sand. Paulin 2nd overall, Anstey 3rd. His first podium visit since the Monster Energy FIM Motocross of Nations in October. And the gap between the top 2 now has, as many people predicted, has shrunk to 12 points between Jeffrey Hurlings and Tony Cairoli. Next stop will be Indonesia, and it really is game on once again in MXGP.
Well, that was just 2 weekends ago, the Fiat Professional MXGP of Lombardia at Ottobiano. And, of course, Antonio Cairoli was the winner that day. No Jeffrey Hurlings on the line. Of course, he broke his collarbone just a few days before that. But he is back here this weekend. And it's good to see him here doing a few laps in practice as well. And hot off the press, we've got Dirk Gruebel, the Red Bull KTM team manager from the Dutch side of the Red Bull KTM garage. Dirk, welcome to Indonesia for round 12. I guess the first question really has to be, now that he's here, how is Jeffrey?
Well, first of all, thanks for inviting me up here, and yeah, Jeffrey's pretty good, to be honest. I mean, it's now 2 weeks or let's say 10 days since the surgery, and the healing process started a bit. He did not ride at home, so he took really his time and paid attention for the healing process. He looked a bit stiff the first 2 laps out, of course also checking out the track and sourcing good lines, but then yeah, he told me the more he rode, the better it felt. Yeah. Of course, he always sore a bit.
Well, you just touched on the fact that he hasn't rode before he came here, but was it only the collarbone? Because initially, you know what the rumour mill is like, Hurlings crash, Hurlings collarbone, maybe ribs, maybe wrist, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
was it just the collarbone, or was there some slight damage elsewhere?
Well, he went down hard,
yeah,
let's put it that way, and he had bruises all over, and for sure the ribs have been bruised, but nothing has been broken.
Okay.
So he broke the collarbone, and that was it, luckily, in the end. But at that point he felt pretty bad, and there was a lot of people obviously at the track, and everybody saw him walking off, and he looked sore, he was holding his arm, so people were suspecting the wrist and stuff like that, but it was the collarbone.
All right.
Well, both Jeffrey and Tony have certainly kept us entertained this year, and I'm no doubt you're more than impressed with Jeffrey's performance. But just tell us, how difficult has it been to manage the team situation at KTM, especially the MXGP side?
Well, it's it's not that easy as when they've been in different classes,
Yeah.
of course, but no, they're both grown-up guys, and of course Jeffrey put it to another level with his riding, but Tony also stepped it up, and they play the game hard, but they play it fair, so far, luckily, and we try to keep it also this way. I mean, inside the team, we don't let it come down to discussions. I mean, the team is a team, and they need to battle it out on the track, and this is what's happening now at the moment.
And they've been, as we said, they've provided plenty of action for us. This was the last lap pass in Patagonia, obviously Trentino. That was a big statement from Jeffrey, wasn't it, that weekend, from his point of view? And we're mentioning this because obviously this is your side of the garage, you know what I mean? Obviously there are two riders going at it, but you're looking purely from a Jeffrey's perspective. So when you see those performances from him, you know, does that also kind of resonate with you as well? Like, do you feel it like Jeffrey, or do you try to sit on the fence a little bit?
Well, I need to stay neutral, let's put it that way, as much as I can. But of course, I'm managing Jeffrey's side, and I mean, you hope the best for your own rider, as same as Claudio De Carli hopes for Tony. But you know, you have your favorite guy, and mine is Jeffrey, and Claudio's is Tony. But we keep it under control. And like I said, he surprised me a couple times this year so far. How much he grew up.
Yeah.
Like in the past, he rode a bit more, like more aggressive and not so much with tactics. And now, he's doing it.
What about that?
In England, that was a bit of misfortune, let's put it that way. Of course, they collided, but also the lines came together at the point, and it didn't look beautiful.
No.
Let's put it that way. But nobody got hurt, and it was a race incident, and afterwards they shake hands, and everything was fine.
Okay.
And it's been a similar story in MX2, hasn't it? It seems that since Jorge's moved to the De Carli side, the intensity level between himself and Paul's Jonas has definitely gone up. How's PJ dealing with that situation, and how impressive you been with Jorge this year?
Jorge improved a lot, I have to say. I mean, last year he came into the season, he did not have that level of fitness, and he stepped up his game this winter, that's for sure. Also, he's a year older, the whole story with the school is behind them, and that make a big change in him. Of course, also he trains with Tony, and he's staying down in Rome a lot, and he made a good step. Pauls is dealing really well with it. He was very consistent the first 3 races. After that, I don't know, he hit a little bit a hole, let's say, and since then he keeps going up and down week by week. But so far he still has the control over it, and I hope this weekend he can go home with another win.
As you said, you know, it's been a little bit up and down, but on the down weekends that Pauls has had, Prado's always been there, hasn't he, to pick up the pieces. What was it, the first 3 rounds he won, and then all of a sudden 2 5th place finishes, and then France, I think he finished 5th again. And I spoke to you at the airport, actually, when we arrived in Jakarta, and you just said, it's been a bit of a roller coaster kind of last few races, really, for Pauls. I mean, is that just, what is it? Is it just something that if he makes a good start, he knows it's okay, and if he doesn't make a good start, he just can't, and Prado's there? You know, is it, or is it just difficult to pinpoint? Sometimes he's on, sometimes he's off, a bit like Jorge.
It depends a lot with him, with tracks, let's say. He has a track where he doesn't make click, and then he struggles the whole weekend, and then that you can see. And he fights then the track, and he does not fight in Jorge. And Jorge, he's very talented. If he makes click with the track, then it's a hard day for Pauls. Yeah, that's clear, and that we see the whole season already.
Yeah.
Okay.
Glenn. And poor old Glenn, obviously, having a fantastic season, 7th in the championship standings at the moment. Obviously, clearly a good asset for KTM. What does he bring to the team?
No, Glenn is a perfect teammate. I mean, he's our 3rd rider in MX1, and he's doing a fantastic job. I mean, at one point he was the best, let's say, 2nd rider of the factory teams, and you know, it's just fantastic sometimes. But he's too much up and down as well. He has good races, and then he has an off weekend. Not really off, but he's not happy with his performances, because if he has a weekend where he feels well, he can finish every week top 5 easy. Yeah,
but he is solid though, isn't he? He's a solid performer for you.
Still solid, but he's not happy with if he finishes 9 or 10. Okay. Because he can do better.
Yeah. But I guess it's only a matter of time before we see him back on the podium. Obviously, he was 2nd here last year. You know, a race is a leveler, but you know, as Shaun Simpson was saying just a few moments ago when he came on, you know, one time you get that race, it just clicks, and that can unlock the rest of the season. Is that how Glenn is looking at it? Is that how you're looking at it, maybe?
I think if he would have a podium by now, you would have seen stronger perform, or at least you know, more trust from himself into the bike, into the tracks, in his racing. Now he still struggles a bit. Am I able to go podium or not? I push, and I want. But it didn't make click so far, and it's time it makes click. That would be important. Yeah.
All right, well, look, Dirk, thanks for your time. I know you've got a busy weekend, obviously, with guys in both classes to look after.
Yes.
We've got the next free practice coming up at the moment, the time training coming up shortly, and then the qualifying race is a little later on this afternoon, 2:25 here, so 8:25 UK, 9:25 Central European time, and the MXGP qualifying race at 3:10 here locally, and 9:10 in the UK, and 10:10 in Europe as well. But that's it for our studio show here. Thanks to all our guests. Thanks to Dirk. Thanks to Shaun. And thanks to Davy Pootjes, of course. Always thank you to Lisa Leyland as well. Join us on MXGP TV for all the live qualifying races a little later on today. We'll see you next week when we go to Samarang again in Indonesia. See you then.